3, 2, 1. Welcome to Lit Fun.
Hey guys, welcome to this beautiful platform and get ready to have some lit fun. My name is Shivani and I'm gonna take you through a ride that will help you live multiple lives because that's what literature does, right? Stop. Please don't go anywhere, yaar. I get it that you finally figured out we are going to be talking about books. But hey, in this insufferable time of pandemic, when you are unable to meet your friends and family, books can be the perfect refuge. Trust me. So guys, before I begin with this video, I just want to share my motto of starting this YouTube channel. First of all, I want to make you all fall in love with literature, with reading. Trust me, it's beautiful. And hopefully by the end of this video, you're going to believe that too. And second, I have seen a lot of YouTube channels related to the bookish content. Either they just give you the names of the books that you should read, saying it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's a life-changing book. But why exactly? Or they are the educational videos. But even they talk about just the summary of the plot, talking about only the denotative meaning, that is the surface level meaning, nothing deeper. So my goal is to club both these things together in order to make it a fun as well as an educational experience for you all and add my own mix of understanding, critiquing and literary theories into it to make it a much more enriching, intense and a meaningful experience for you all. So today we are going to talk about our first book, my first love, and that is none other than Pride and Prejudice, written by Jane Austen. The irony here lies in the fact that all the novels written by Jane Austen revolve around the theme of marriage, whereas she herself died single. Yep. Anyways, I'm sure you all must have read or heard about this novel. It has also been adapted into movies several times, but that doesn't change a thing because personally I never get tired of reading it or watching content related to it. Earlier, I had even thought of giving it the honorable title of Universal Love. But then I came to know that Mr. Mark Twain, the famous writer of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, begs to differ. He was so annoyed after reading Pride and Prejudice that he wanted to dug the author up and hit her skull with her own shin bone. Like seriously, have some basic respect, yaar. Anyway, starting with the novel, we have an amazing, super funny and super hilarious character, Mrs. Bennet, who commences the novel with super famous dialogue. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of good fortune must be in a want of a wife. Really? Does Salman Khan also fall into this category? I know not. But guys, she's not some psycho. She is a mother who's worried about her daughters and just wants to see them well settled. And guys, she's not the mother of just one daughter but 5. So yeah, but the question might also arise that why is she so eager, so anxious and so in hurry? Well, the answer to this lies in the socio-political background of that time. The girls then didn't have right to property. So either you get married or you end up being governesses. And definitely getting married was a much better option and a more acceptable one. The Bennet family didn't have a son, so automatically their entire estate would go to their distant cousin Mr. Collins, and the girls would be left penniless. Unfair, right? I know, patriarchy sucks. And this was the only reason that made Mrs. Bennet super anxious, and she just wanted to see her daughters married as soon as possible. Also, there is another thing that in the background of Pride and Prejudice, the Napoleonic Wars were going on. So you must be knowing that in history, whenever there was some kind of a war, all the men from the society, they were called to the borders in order to fight. So there were very limited options that were available to the women at that time, because the majority of the men, the major chunk, was on the borders fighting the wars. So that is why the options were limited. So every girl, every mother was very anxious, and they just wanted to get their daughters a husband, either by hook or by crook. So as you can already figure out, it was a pretty tough situation for Bennet family. But good news guys, Bennet sisters can escape this fate, because Mr. Bingley, a man of large fortune, has arrived to stay nearby. And luckily, Bennet family has gotten an invite to attend one of their balls. So great parties, music and dance, and it would be fun. So you can imagine the joy that Bennet family felt. And you know, I had such romantic notions when I was reading about it, like dance with anyone, anywhere, freely, with no rope-toke of society. But then I saw the movie and the crowd, it was suffocating. Like, how could you even breathe, yaar? And just imagine if they were in this corona pandemic situation. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I know it's not funny guys, but still, for Mrs. Bennet it would have been like, Dil ke armaan aansoo mein beh gaye. Anyways, luckily at that time there was no such situation, and hopefully we would also come out of this situation very soon. Fingers crossed. So the entire Bennet family, excluding Mr. Bennet does not like all these nonsensical things, and he's away from everything. Most of the time he spends locked up in his library reading the books and preventing his sanity that he would lose up if he spends a lot of time with Mrs. Bennet, that is his wife. So Mr. Bennet is there locked up inside his library, and Mrs. Bennet, along with all the 5 daughters, they go to attend the ball. And things get interesting once the ball starts, because Mr. Bingley arrives there with his sisters and his friend, the heartthrob of millions, Mr. Darcy. Mr. Darcy belongs to an aristocratic family and is super rich. But as you know, no man is perfect. Mr. Darcy also contains some flaws. So he is seemingly rude. Actually, the problem is that he does not feel really comfortable with strangers, and he does not know how to strike a conversation, which is pretty much relatable to me at least. So you can say he's a kind of an introvert. So everyone, you know, the main function of these balls were to introduce oneself to the society, and it was a great opportunity to fasaw a ladka or a ladki and get married to them, so to get a perfect catch. So everyone was trying to woo Mr. Darcy for their daughters, and of course, you know how we deal with the big bade people, so we butter them and everything. So Mr. Darcy was immune to it, and he felt very irritated if somebody did something like that. Whereas Mr. Bingley was a very nice, sweet sort of a person. He mingled up very easily with everyone, and to the utter delight of Mrs. Bennet, he danced twice with her eldest daughter, that is Jane. And everyone could see that how much he was in love with her, kind of, you know, because they both made an adorable couple. So Mr. Bingley was all occupied. He was dancing with a lot of girls, dancing with Jane twice, which was a huge achievement. But Mr. Darcy stood there in a corner, like, you know, a sort of a person, and getting bored and everything. So Mr. Bingley, after taking a break from all the dances, approaches Mr. Darcy and he says that why don't you also dance with someone? And he replies that I don't know anybody here and you are dancing with the only most beautiful girl in the ballroom like this. And then Mr. Bingley points out that even her younger sister is very pretty and she seems very much agreeable and she's sitting just right behind you, so why don't you dance with her? And Darcy looks behind, he turns a little, he looks at Elizabeth Bennet, the protagonist of this novel Pride and Prejudice, the second daughter of Mrs. Bennet, and they both lock their eyes for a second, and then Mr. Darcy turn around and he replies, this is very, very important. He replies that she is tolerable but not handsome enough to tempt me. So you can see, and ये चीज़ लग जाती है एलिजाबेथ को. This seems like an insult to her, although she does not, react, and she later on tells this to all her friends and in a very happy and a cheerful manner. Oh, Mr. Darcy said like this. But this scene, this point actually starts the beginning of the novel Pride and Prejudice. Both of their prides clashes, and Elizabeth form her own notions about Mr. Darcy, and from here on she would see every action committed by Mr. Darcy in a negative light. And related to this, again we come to a very, very famous quote when Elizabeth talks to Charlotte, her best friend. So Charlotte, she kind of defends Mr. Darcy that he is such a fine young man and he has family, fortune, everything in his favor, so he has a right to be proud. I wouldn't mind his pride. And Elizabeth replies, and again it's a very, very important line, guys. She replies that I would have forgiven his pride if he had not mortified mine. So this is the self-respect that Elizabeth Bennet carries, that okay, he is a very rich and a very fine and a handsome man and everything is in his favor, but still he didn't have any right to mortify my pride, to insult me. And guys, now comes the ball number 2. So now when the ball number 1 was so happening and so much happened in that ball, you can only imagine what would happen in this ball number 2. So for Jane and Mr. Bingley, it turns out to be the same. Jane dances with Mr. Bingley, both of them make an agreeable pair. The Bingley sisters, they don't like Mrs. Bennet at all, and they find the younger sisters also to be very, very disagreeable, but they all are complacent with the company of Jane and they wish to know her more. So Jane is all in a happy world right now. And then we come to the second daughter, Elizabeth. Now what happens is that Mr. Darcy feels a little unsettled about comments regarding Elizabeth. So what he does is he constantly stares at her, trying to find out faults so that he can justify himself. So it's a very weird psychology. Somewhere he had just spoken those dialogues, he had not meant any of it, and this can also shows that he is not really a very indifferent or a very rude or a cruel person. Somehow maybe he is feeling that pinch of guilt that I have spoken unjustly of her, and so now he wants to justify himself, so he constantly stares at her trying to find out faults. But the entire opposite happens, and instead of finding faults, he starts to find her positive aspects. So the more he looks at her trying to hate her, the more he falls for her. So soon he discovers the lightness of her manners, her pretty eyes and everything, and he starts admiring her little by little, just a little. They are going at a steady pace. And now, but I told you that Elizabeth had already created her notions which are not at all pleasant about Mr. Darcy. So she is very annoyed. She senses that he is constantly staring, and she comments that he has a very satirical eye and I have to do something about it, otherwise I'll soon grow afraid of him. So obviously just imagine a guy is constantly watching you, so you would feel a little uncomfortable. So the same things happen, but Elizabeth is thinking again negative of Darcy, but Darcy is little by little falling for her. He is not looking at her now to comment on her satirically, but in order to admire her. And a curiosity arises, and he wishes to know Elizabeth better. And now this very interesting scene happens. The father of Charlotte, that is Mr. Lucas, he stops Mr. Darcy and he strikes a conversation with him. And after a few seconds, Elizabeth also happened to pass on the same way. So Mr. Lucas stops Elizabeth and he offers the hand of Elizabeth to Mr. Darcy for a dance. And surprisingly, this time Mr. Darcy does not refuse. In fact, he is more than eager to have a dance with her. But Elizabeth refuses this time. And she says, I'm sorry, but I don't want you to think that I came into this direction in order to beg for a partner. And then she satirically comments that Mr. Darcy is all politeness, but I don't wish to dance. And this spikes the interest and the curiosity of Mr. Darcy even more, and he is even more pleased, like, wow, there is some girl on this planet who can refuse me also. So it's that kind of a thing. And Mr. Darcy starts to like Elizabeth even more. Now, one of Mr. Bingley's sister, she comes there, and she, kind of back bitches about the Bennet family, because of course Mrs. Bennet is insufferable, and so are the youngest daughters. We'll talk about them. So and she says that I'm sure Mr. Darcy, you must be very annoyed. But Mr. Darcy doesn't shy away from sharing the fact that he was actually really pleased, and he even shared the name of the person who was responsible for it, and that is Miss Elizabeth Bennet. And she is completely shocked, like, Elizabeth Bennet, seriously you like her? And now you can just guess the reason why is she's so shocked. Yes, definitely Mr. Darcy's personality is one of the reason, but then this Miss Bingley is also dreaming of becoming Mrs. Darcy someday. So she is extremely jealous also, like, how can he look at some other woman except for me? So now we have a lot of plots going on. We have Jane and Mr. Bingley, we have Mr. Darcy, who is disliked by everyone including Elizabeth Bennet, but the arrogant Mr. Darcy had started to fall a little by little for Elizabeth. So how would their story go, and would Miss Bingley be able to woo Mr. Darcy and marry him? There are many other characters also. We still are left with the 3 Bennet sisters that we have to discuss. So how all these love stories will unfold and how the plots will take turn, whose story will become successful, whose story will remain unfinished, we'll see all of it in the next video. So stay tuned, take care, keep spreading love, and bye bye.